Hello everyone, sometime no see. I have sadly decided to go for level 100, and as you can see the situation is okay, I guess 50%, but I have been dying. Anyway, let's not get into that sob story. I think that's for another video. I want to talk to you guys about skill tags. So up until this point, up until season 3, as I will call it, I think for simplicity, patch 0.3, this was just not very much needed, right? But now I think it is, because we have a lot of crafting tools, especially this one. This makes the concept rather important. So what does this do, guys? So your next exalted orb, instead of adding something random, it will add something that already exists on the item, right? So, and this actually means skill tags, right? So for crafting, I utilize a site called Craft of Exile. We did have a few videos, in which I talked about it. Let me just bring it up. So you can see the tags here. There are a lot of tags. These are Amanamo, etc. Amanamo, Kurgal, and Ulaman, I believe, are the seasonal ones. So I don't think we need to think about these, because they are going to get outdated soon. They are going to get removed from the game, right? But the other stuff is core. As you can see, we have quite a few skill tags. We have defenses, we have life, we have mana, damage, caster, attack, defenses, right? These are the normal stuff, these are the seasonal stuff, and these are the essence only stuff. So we don't really think about these, but the other stuff is important. Okay, damage, critical, mana. So why is this important? I'm going to give you one example to know why that's important. The thing is, if you pay attention here, there are only two attack two skills with the attack tag on it, right? There is the garbage accuracy rating, and there is the nice plus melee skills. And you might have noticed throughout the season that melee amulets are much cheaper than projectile and spell amulets, right? And the reason for that is that melee, you can actually 100% of the time you can get melee skills on your amulet, right? For the others, you have to endlessly and hopelessly use chaos orbs, which can take many divines in chaos course. I have heard people as unlucky as above 1,000 chaos just to get the +3 projectiles. But for melee, there is no such thing. You can just immediately guarantee it, right? Why or how? I was crafting these for some time, but I don't think I have any for sale at the time. No, I don't, but I can show you. I have a few bases here. So guys, what you basically do is you get a nice amulet as a base with a crit chance or crit damage modifier. That's tier 1, and you get a garbage amulet with like 10 accuracy on it. And I'm not exaggerating the number, right? You just get the amulet with the lowest amount of accuracy on it. I think the tier 1 roll for accuracy caps at 32, for example. So you get an absolute garbage, right? Worth 1 regal orb or something, right? And you get one like this, right? It doesn't have to be gold. It could also be, of course, solar. That's just going to be the base. And then you recombinate them. The reason that we go for a low tier accuracy is that the chance of recombination becomes high, right? So if I get one such amulet, that will be another video, so I don't want to get into details too much, but you recombinate it, and the chances of recombination happening will be, instead of the usual 1, 2, or 10%, it's going to be actually 50%. Why? Because you are combining a tier 1 ability and the tier 12 ability or something, right? So the chances of success is pretty high, and you use it in combination with the Omen of Recombination, which is here, which I don't have, which gives you another chance if the original recombination fails, right? And that brings our chance of success to around 75%, right? And then you will have an amulet with tier 1 crit chance or crit damage, and tier 12 or something, tier 8 or something accuracy, right? So what does that accuracy do? Since accuracy is the only other attack tag skill allowed on an amulet, where if we use omen of homogenizing exaltation on it, that means we are definitely going to get plus melee skills on the thing, right? But then of course remains the awful situation where we get +1 or +2 melee skills, right? We don't want that, we want +3. And we are saved by the currency tiering. If you use a perfect exalted orb on it, alongside with the omen of homogenizing exaltation, you are going to get +3 melee skills 100% of the time, right? There is a bit of a small exception there, but let's just say 100%. If I do another video, I will explain it in detail there. And that's why melee amulets are not expensive, right? Because it's very easy to get them. You just get something with accuracy, and you use that to add the +3 melee, and then you use some other stuff to remove that accuracy, and you can get a very nice amulet. So for example, guys, you can make a +3 melee amulet, +30% global defenses, tier 1 crit chance, tier 1 crit damage, and plus energy shield or plus evasion or something like that. A very nice melee amulet for the low cost of like several divines, right? And there is a bit of RNG involved, and I don't want to this video to turn into that amulet's crafting video, but if you high roll a little bit, you can get like 50-70 divine for it, right? And it's almost always going to cost around 2-3 divine, unless you want to remove it and improve it. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. So the thing is, guys, knowing skill tags makes a difference, right? So if you know that the only attack tag skills allowed on an amulet are accuracy and melee skills, that means you can get your +3 melee skills very cheap, right? At the cost of about 1 divine, you can have +3 melee skills on amulet. You just get some amulet with garbage accuracy, and then you do homogeneous exaltation with perfect exalted orb on it, boom, right? +3. There is no such shortcut for projectile at all. As you can see, projectile has no tag whatsoever. For spells, we have the caster tag, but yeah, the other caster tags. So first of all, it's not guaranteed like that, right? Because as you can see, there are 1, 2, and 3 caster tags, right? And you kind of don't want spell damage on an amulet. So as far as I know, I'm not an expert on spell amulets, but as far as I know, you generally get something like spirit, and you fracture it, and then you remove the remaining modifiers, and then you hopelessly spam chaos in hopes of hitting +3 spells, and then you craft the rest. So what other tags do we have? We have life and mana. So thing is, guys, if you use an homogeneous exaltation while you have life here, right, you could hit percentage life, you could hit life regeneration, which is awful, right? And I'm not very sure about this, but I think it takes the weighting into account. So for example, as you can see, percentage life is only 0.5%, and life regeneration is 5.6%. So if you try that, right, you have life on your amulet and you want to hit maximum percentage life, and the life regen will appear 10 times more often than the maximum life percentage, right? And I'm not even going into the tiers. There will be tiers, of course, and these are all 1 in 3. So for example, if you have flat life on your amulet and you use the homogeneous exaltation, right, then your chances of hitting 7 to 8% increase maximum life would be like 1 in 30. But what you can do is you can force your exalted orb to add prefixes, right? And that means then you are hitting this guaranteed, right? All the time. Yeah, so you can narrow it down a little bit. And the thing that forces the exalted orbs to add prefixes is cheap, right? It won't really matter. And then comes the situation of, for example, you want to hit the higher one. So let's take a look here. So perfect exalt orb brings up the minimum modifier level to 50. So thing is, you can increase your chances as high as 50%. So for example, as I said, you have an amulet with, flat life on it, and you want to add percentage life on it. And if you use, again, let's just take a look here. This is the smart choice here. Let me just go over this again. So guys, greater exalted orbs force the modifier to be level 35 or higher. And as you can see, the worst percentage life is 33, right? So why use a perfect exalt orb and spend a divine where we can use the greater and we can get rid of the bad option anyway? Because the thing is, the perfect exalt orb doesn't allow us to get rid of this one, right? So some people see the minimum modifier level 65 or 70 or something like that on the augmentation and transmutation orbs, right? But that's not the case for chaos and exalted, right? The greater versions, the perfect versions, only bring the modifier level to 50, right? Let's just take a look here. 50 and 50. So there is no way that you can get rid of this option, right? But as I said, you use a homogeneous exaltation and a prefix forcing exalted orb thingy. What is its name? That's the one, sinister exaltation. So you use homogeneous exaltation, sinister exaltation, and greater exalted orb on your amulet with flat life on it, and 50% of time you will hit 7 to 8% maximum life, and 50% of the time you will be hitting 5 to 6% maximum life. And the variance between the roll is obviously absolutely random. So if you want to hit 8% maximum life, then the chance of that will be 25%. But that is why knowing skill tags is important. So for example, because there is no other life related prefix, right? By doing that, you guarantee that you are going to get maximum life. And by using a greater exalt orb, which is, just a little bit more expensive than regular exalted orb, which doesn't bring your costs up, right? And you bring your chance from like 3% up to 50%, which is huge. That's why it's important. So, or another thing, the speed modifiers, there are no speed modifiers here. So for example, if you could add a speed modifier to an amulet, right, using an essence or something, you are going to get cast speed 100% of the time, right? Because there is no other speed modifier there. But attribute modifiers, as you can see, there are a lot, obviously, right? All 3 individual stats, and on top of that, all attributes. These are also tagged with attributes, but I don't think they can appear on items, randomly. You have to add them via desecration, so I don't think these count. There are cold tags, there are lightning tags, there are elemental tags. Keep in mind that chaos is not elemental, so it doesn't count part. It's not, any elemental resistance, any elemental damage increase. Chaos is its own thing. As you can see, it has its own tag. And for example, on an amulet, there is nothing other than chaos resistance with the chaos tag. So if you theoretically had an essence, I don't think that it exists, but if we theoretically had an essence that says adds a chaos modifier, right, and we would use it on an amulet, 100% of the time we would be getting chaos resistance, because there are no chaos modifiers on an amulet, right? These, as I said, do not count. I don't think you can add these normally. They have to be via desecration. But for example, you use the theoretical item essence that adds a chaos modifier, right? And then you use something that makes you add a desecrated modifier, then you would be getting 1 out of these 3 randomly, right? Because these are the 3 desecrated modifier with chaos tags on it. So yeah, knowing these makes a difference, especially now that homogeneous exaltation has been added to the game. Because guys, for example, you see something, right, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna use an omen of homogeneous exaltation to craft that. But thing is, if you don't know the modifiers, there could be other modifiers out there that actually reduce your chances, right? So for example, you could think that you are doing a 100% guaranteed craft whereas you would have a chance of like 30%, or like in the example that we did with the life amulet, there is something that's going to, give you a problem, but you can actually dodge it by using the proper omens, right? So yeah, gem modifiers. I don't think we can interact with these. Minion is nice, but the problem is there is no other minion. So, for example, you could do a Omen of Homogeneous Exaltation trick for the minion amulets as well, but the problem is there is no other minion tagged skill on an amulet, so you cannot do that. But, melee is excellent, right? There is the accuracy and there is the melee skills, and with the use of a perfect Exalted Orb, as you can see, because perfect Exalted Orb brings the minimum eye level of the Affix to 50, it doesn't allow the +2 to exist, right? So it definitely gives you +3 melee skills 100% of the time, right? You get an amulet with accuracy, and then you use an Omen of Homogeneous Exaltation on it, bang, right? 100% of time you get melee skills. And of course, this goes for all crafting. Doesn't have to be amulets, but this one is, I think, a nice one. And in case you've been wondering why, melee amulets are worth less. So thing is, obviously, casters and projectile users are more powerful, right? This season anyway. Well, all seasons anyway. But it's not only that. It's also because, melee is much more easy to come by. You just get, as I said, something with accuracy, and you use the Homogeneous Exaltation on it alongside with a perfect Exaltor, bang, 100% of the time, +3 melee skills at the low cost of 1 to 2 divine, depending on the cost of perfect Exaltor. The others don't really mean much. And thing is, guys, for example, people were spending like 40 divine to get a +3 projectile, right? Something like that. If you get unlucky, right? It can happen, much earlier, but it can happen very late. And imagine at the cost of 1 to 2 divine, you guaranteed get +3 melee skills, which is awesome. So yeah, that's about that, I think. Yeah. So these tags. So if you're wondering about the tags, just come to Craft of Exile and check it. And as you can see, there are the weights here as well. So for example, guys, you think, I am going to craft a melee amulet, but why spend the perfect Exalted Orb on it, right? Can't I take my chances with a regular or greater? You could, but the problem is you are spending a little bit on the base, right? And you are spending a little bit on the other omens, right? Let's just say in the neighborhood of like 100, 150 Exalted. So it's not nothing, right? It's not much, but it's also not nothing. And if you get a +2, the price will drop drastically, or almost, it's not going to be worth anything at all. So yeah, you have to, and take a look at the weights here, guys. So with the Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation, right? And with an amulet on accuracy, you are definitely going to get melee skills. But take a look at this, guys. This is, like 60% of the probability that's being allocated to melee skills goes to +1, right? And then half of that goes to, +2, right? And like 40% of that goes to melee +3. So that means, guys, if you are definitely getting plus melee skills, 65% of the time or something like that, it's gonna be +1, right? 22% of the time, no, something like that. Did I say 65? That's wrong. Hold up. Let me just do that. 60%? Yeah, let's just say 60, 30, and 10, okay? For the sake of simplicity, right? So 60%. So you have 10 amulets, right? And you use Exalted Orbs on it instead of perfect Exalted Orbs. 6 of them will be +1, worthless. 3 of them will be +2, very little. And only one of them will be +3, right? If you use a greater, like 70% of them will be +2 and 30% of them will be +3, right? Or 7 of them and 3 of them. So you have to kind of work the angle there. But thing is, if you repeatedly and aggressively buy proper bases for the amulet, then the prices of those bases will increase, right? So normally I'm able to get them for 20 to 100 exalt orbs. But if I wanted to buy like 10, then I would have to start paying the real cost, right? Because not many people realize their value, so you can get them cheap if you are patient. But if you wanna mass produce it, then you'd have to pay something closer to an hour or something. So there is that. So I would definitely suggest just going for the perfect exalted orb there. The whole craft, which I can cover in another video, would be about like 2 divine, and I have sold it as high as, it was a lucky craft, but I think I sold it as high as 95 divine or something. Yeah, but stars have to align, right? There is a bit of RNG involved. The +3 is guaranteed, but some other stuff, there is a little bit of RNG involved, and if you can get lucky there, it can go up to even above 100 divine, I guess. Yeah, so there is that. So I think there is value in this, and I think it's wise to learn the skill tags, and I will see you in another video. Bye bye.